Howdy again everyone. The Viltrox lens company offers some of the best value autofocus lenses on the market today, and this new lens from them is, I think, the lowest budget they've ever made so far, the AF 56mm f1.7, and at a price of only $139 US, this has to be one of the least expensive autofocus portrait lenses around. If it's any good, then this thing could be a serious bargain. It's coming out on Nikon Z and Fuji X-mounts, and I imagine it'll migrate to some other camera systems eventually too. It only offers an APS-C image circle. If you own a full-frame camera, then you'll have to shoot in crop mode. I'd like to thank Viltrox very much for sending me a copy of this lens for evaluation, although as usual this is a totally independent review. I'm testing a Fuji X-mount version of the lens today. 56mm on an APS-C camera is the full-frame equivalent of 84mm, so that's a classic and versatile portrait focal length, perfect for really emphasizing whatever your subject happens to be, and f1.7 is a decently bright aperture for getting out of focus backgrounds and for shooting in darker situations. This lens has great potential, although obviously wide-angle photography is out of the question here. The lens's construction is dead simple, but it doesn't feel too low quality. Although it weighs under 200 grams, it does feel solid enough in your hand. It's based on a metal lens mount with a USB-C port for firmware updates, but there's no weather sealing here. Then comes the lens's only control point, a plastic focus ring, which turns extremely smoothly. The lens's manual focus response was precise enough, although not lightning fast. Here you can see that the lens suffers from only a small amount of focus breathing. At this price point, that's what you expect to see, really. The lens's autofocus motor works accurately, with an almost silent whirring sound, and it's not too slow either. The lens has a small 52mm filter thread, and it comes with a small plastic lens hood. It does not feature image stabilization. Overall, considering the lens's rock bottom price, the build quality here is absolutely fine. So let's take a look at image quality. I'll be testing it today on a Fuji X-T3 camera with its 26 megapixel APS-C sensor. In the middle of the image at f1.7, we see excellent sharpness and good contrast right away. And the further good news is that the image corners are virtually as sharp. That's a pleasant surprise to see. Well done, Viltrox. At f2.8, there's just a tiny edge of extra resolution, but really, this is about as sharp as you can get on a 26 megapixel sensor. Stop down as far as f11 or f16 for sharpness and contrast to take a big hit due to diffraction, but that's obviously normal for any camera lens on such a sensor, so for such a low budget lens, this is a wonderful performance. Okay, let's avoid any automatic in-camera corrections now by shooting in RAW and take a look at distortion and vignetting. The lens projects a small amount of pincushion distortion here. Most worrying is that very heavy vignetting though, at f1.7. At f2 it begins to clear up, at f2.8 and f4 it's mostly gone. So if you're shooting in RAW, it's just the vignetting you should really worry about fixing here. The lens can focus down to 55cm, not too bad for a portrait optic. Anyway, the close-up image quality remains reasonably sharp at f1.7, but contrast is suffering here. Stop down to f2.8 and the image gets much punchier again. Let's see how the lens works against bright lights now. Around the point of bright light itself there's some strong haloing, but residual flaring is very low after that. Now let's take a look at the quality of this lens's bokeh. The lens's out-of-focus backgrounds look impressively smooth here, even in transitional zones, with almost no outlining on highlights. Very nice. And finally, related to bokeh comes longitudinal chromatic aberration. At f1.7, there's just a tiny bit to be seen through the low contrast, but stop down to f2 or f2.8 and we can see that it's not really an issue for this lens. Overall, this new Viltrox optic may not be utterly perfect, but it is generally fantastic, and for $140, it's certainly a value king. In fact, it's kind of a no-brainer for anyone wanting to do some casual, or even not so casual, portrait photography. I can see loads of Fuji owners picking up this one, so I have no hesitation in highly recommending this new lens.